U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's days are numbered after deadly clashes over humanitarian aid. Picking exact days is difficult. I'm confident that the Venezuelan people will ensure that Maduro's days are numbered, Mr. Pompeo told CNN. 2 people died in Saturday's clashes between civilians and troops loyal to Mr. Maduro, who blocked aid deliveries. Self-declared interim President Juan Guaido said Mr. Maduro must resign. Mr. Guaido, who has been recognized as interim leader by more than 50 countries, has called on other nations to consider all measures to oust Mr. Maduro after opposition-led efforts to bring in aid descended into clashes. He also said he would attend a meeting of mostly Latin American countries in Colombia on Monday, despite being under a travel ban imposed by Mr. Maduro. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence will represent Washington at the talks in Bogotá. A senior White House official said on Sunday that Mr. Pence was planning to announce concrete steps and actions in addressing the crisis at the talks on Monday, Reuters news agency reported. Meanwhile, Colombia and Brazil said they would intensify pressure on Mr. Maduro to relinquish power. U.S. President Donald Trump has not ruled out an armed response to the Venezuela crisis. Separately on Sunday, a boat carrying U.S. aid from Puerto Rico to Venezuela was forced to dock on the small Dutch territory island of Curaçao after it was intercepted by the Venezuelan Navy off the northern coast, AFP news agency reports. The vessel was reportedly loaded with 9 cargo containers filled with food and medicine. Mr. Maduro, who says he is the legitimate president and is backed by key economic allies including Russia, Cuba and China, has warned that deliveries of foreign aid would open the way for U.S. military intervention. Mr. Guaido, who declared himself interim president last month, argues that alleged irregularities with the nation's 2018 election render Mr. Maduro's leadership illegitimate. Venezuela's opposition had intended to peacefully bring aid trucks over the borders with Brazil and Colombia. Mr. Guaido had pledged that the aid would come into the country on Saturday. In response, Mr. Maduro partly closed the country's borders,